Well, hello, Author Nation. Welcome back to another jam-packed Author Nation podcast. We're going to be talking to host Jamie Davis, first of all, who helps out with the conference. But we've got Michael Evans, CEO of Ream, sci-fi author Kevin McLaughlin, and urban fantasy author Ben Zackheim. It's a jam-packed show, and we're going to be talking about building a loyal fan base and the tools you need to track and manage it. So stick around.
Hi, this is the State of the Nation podcast recorded in Boston after the Subscriptions for Authors Summit. I'm your host for these episodes, Jamie Davis. I'm the conference director for Author Nation and an urban fantasy author. Today we're going to be talking about building a loyal fan base and the tools to look into their activity around our books. I've got a great panel to talk about that today, so without further ado, let's jump into our guests. I'm so excited about this. First off, we have Ream CEO and storyteller advocate Michael Evans. Michael, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks for helping us to secure this amazing space here at the Harvard's iMedia Lab. It's good to see you.
Great to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. My next guest is sci-fi author and Author Nation Planning Committee member, Kevin McLaughlin. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
It's great to have you here. And finally, a fellow urban fantasy author, Ben Zackheim, who is also here on behalf of Author Health Burst Suite. And it's good to see you, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I want to kick off this episode with a question about finding and building a base of rabid fans. And I'm just going to go to Michael here because he's the expert on just what it takes to do some of that. The recent Subscriptions for Authors Summit spent a lot of time drilling down into finding and connecting with their biggest fans. So what initial steps do authors need to take to start building their fan base as an indie author? How do they identify who those fans are?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I'm an expert in anything, but I'll share what I've seen is out there and what I think might help you. I think there's 3 steps in the process. The first thing is first understanding what kind of fan do you want to attract? Like who is your ideal reader? And the thing about this question is understanding that you don't need to know the full answer on step 1. All you need to know is, hey, this is an idea of who I think my ideal reader is, almost a hypothesis. And then you proceed to step 2, which is how are you able to reach that reader? Where are they hanging out? Where are you able to connect with them? Is it on a specific platform, specific community? Maybe it's in a specific in-person event that they might be at. And then once you figure that out, step 3 is seeing how they respond once you try and connect with them. Maybe you make a post that tries to engage with them in a certain way. Maybe you share with them your story at an in-person event. Maybe you share snippets, or maybe you're posting serials on a specific platform. Whatever it is that you're doing, you then want to see, okay, are they enjoying it? And then from there, if they are enjoying it, then you want to show them that you hear them and that you care about what they're giving you. So that might mean giving them attention in the form of responding to comments. That might mean doing things like Christopher Hopper does, who is amazing, was at the summit talking about sending videos to his fans and calling them up because he requires them to give him their phone number each time they go to the mailing list. The trick is, after they enjoy what you're doing, you have to create a magic moment for them, something that over-delivers on what they expected. And once you create that magic moment, now you start to really build a fan base. But what you'll realize is that over time, you might realize, oh, step 1, step 2, step 3 is not going so well. I'm not really able to get fans connecting with my work. Is it that I'm targeting the wrong fans? Is it that I'm targeting them the wrong way? Is it that and then maybe the magic moment's not right. So it's kind of this constant loop. But those are the 4 things I'd focus on.
Kevin, you've been writing for a long time and have a fan base that follows and is ready for your next books. How does what Michael said resonate with you? Have you been able to create some of those magical touch moments with fans?
Well, so we actually had a wonderful discussion at the event about top of funnel and bottom of funnel marketing, and top of funnel and bottom of funnel fan building. And I think myself and most other authors, especially the old guard ones who've been around since like indie started pretty much, are much more top of funnel marketing focused, which means that we're focused on bringing in people from the wider pool into our works and getting them introduced to our works. And then we're sort of hoping that they will someday become super fans if they read enough of our books. Hope is not a strategy. So one of the things we were talking about a lot at this event actually was the idea of bottom of funnel marketing, which is where, Chris Hopper is probably one of the best in the world at that. But no, most of us are not doing that kind of stuff anywhere near as much as we probably should be. I know I'm certainly not. But
what about you, Ben? With connecting with your fans and your readers? I see you posting just like I post online and social media channels, but that doesn't always really do the trick. People just kind of scroll by a lot of that stuff.
It doesn't. I think for me, it kind of crosses over between my author business as well as the author helper suite, because I'm a big believer in a marketing plan for every launch, and like writing things down. And I think one of the ways that I've crossed genres, I've gone from kids lit to fantasy to urban fantasy, and each time I've not only written a book description of what the book is, I've written a why I wrote the book. In other words, why this story over every other story? What made me do it? And it can get into psychological reasons. It can get into inspiration from a politician or from another author. And once I do that why, I basically have a good idea of who I'm trying to reach. And, because it's not me, I'm not writing for myself only. I like to enjoy my books, but I'm writing for somebody else. Yeah. And so out of that book description of why I'm writing it, I like to pull the keywords. I like to pull the Stephen King's or the, unrequited love or whatever those reasons, whatever why I wrote the story. And I like to put those in the marketing plan. And as far as advertising and hashtags and things like that, that's a great way to at least start a discussion that the people you want to have see the discussion have a chance of seeing it. So we're talking about very, very beginning, starting, launching a new book or starting a career. So I think it's really important to understand why you wrote it to get a good idea of who your audience is.
And that's that big top of funnel, where you're just trying to capture people's attention a little bit, and maybe they'll be willing to engage farther down once they've read your book.
Exactly. The book description is the other thing that, I think is a really important part of your marketing plan, to find those keywords and to find the reason, what makes the book special. Because your readers or potential readers will read that, and if they like the cover or they like the title or they heard about you. So, and that's also the other part, is the networking between authors. I think that's a super important part. You have to get to know other authors, because once you kind of plug into that community, I've never known a more I've worked across many different jobs. I've never ever met a more giving community than the author community. And it's not like they'll give you their fans, but they'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, we're not, and there's plenty of room for many authors with every reader, because we can't write fast enough. No matter how fast you write, you can't write. Readers are reading books in a day.
Yeah.
And
especially in our genres.
And they consume so fast, Michael, that it makes it difficult to keep up. So what about engaging along the way to keep those readers interested enough to be ready for the next piece of content you're ready to drop?
Yeah, there's a few ways you could do it. One thing that was talked a lot about at the summit that just we see a lot is the serialized release format, because that's a way to take what is really the same amount of content, amount of story, let's say it's 100,000 words or 100 chapters, and just drip it over a longer period of time, so you're staying at the top of a reader's mind. Now, not every reader wants to read serially, and also there's other ways to engage readers outside of just a serial release. And I think this is where it's really interesting to see what musicians do, or even actors in films, and they're constantly doing like behind the scenes things, whether it's little snippets of, this is the the trailer where we're getting our makeup done, or this is the, think about Taylor Swift and all of little Easter. She's like a machine for bonus content. So being able to develop these things that, again, you're not having to say, hey, this is what I eat for breakfast and I pick my kids up at school. Like, your readers don't necessarily care about that. They might, but they probably don't. But what can they care about? Well, they probably want to connect deeper with your characters. They probably want to connect deeper with your worlds. And are you able to give them that in a way that's low lift, in a way that can also be shareable among readers? That's where like different, bringing in visuals, whether it's character art, bringing in like different polls and games and things you could do. Christopher Hopper does like live chats with his readers. Other authors are reading other authors' books along with their readers, which is a really great way to do a cross promo in a way that builds community and isn't just like a little transactional, hey, promo going on, but hey, let's read this together. So these are all just a bunch of ideas, but
it's cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You talked about reaching them in different ways and acknowledging them with a shout out. I don't know if anybody's been to the theater recently, but one of the trends I've seen in some of the newer releases is they open with a look at maybe the star or the star and the director doing a short little piece right at the beginning that says, hey, you had a choice. And you made the choice to come see this in the theater in the big screen experience, and we appreciate that. And I have to say, it made an impression on me. I mean, I knew what they were doing from a marketing standpoint, but it is that touch point, right?
It builds a bond.
And little things too, like the movie theaters are now starting to do concierge delivery of your snacks and stuff, so you don't have to wait in line.
I love that. Yeah.
You know, it's small touches like that make it a little bit nicer to go to a movie theater. And now that people have, you know, like huge screen TVs at home, they need to do that. I think the one mistake that authors make, I know I have, you know, certainly is not paying as much attention to other industries as maybe we could be, because there's a lot we can learn from musicians. There's a lot that we can learn from YouTubers. You know, there's a lot that we can learn from creative people across other creative industries. We're not that different. We might have to apply it in a different way, but the fundamentals are going to remain the same.
Great point.
Ben, let's talk a little bit about Author Helper Suite and some of the things that you're doing. Where are authors dropping the ball? I think is the question.
Well, no, it's a great question. I don't think anyone's necessarily dropping the ball. I think everybody has their blind spots. And link tracking basically is one of the missing pieces. I think the most important point for our business to track is sales, of course. But I think the number 2 most important thing to track are links, because you can follow the experience of the reader through links. And so Author Helper Suites provides tracking for sales, provides tracking for ad performance, as well as link performance. We have their own proprietary link system, which has Facebook Pixel. That's where a lot of people are dropping the ball. They need to use the Meta Pixel. Sorry. Amazon attribution links are also something that's a little bit better than the affiliate links. Attribution links allow you to see where traffic is coming from outside of the Amazon ecosystem, and Amazon kind of they're pretty cool about where you put Amazon attribution links, because that's the whole point, is to figure out how you're sending people to your books in a good or a bad way. Is it working? Is it not working? But I think the links are just even if you use Bitly, if you use Genius Link, whatever you use, pay attention to that, because you'll see spikes in sales and you might not know where it's coming from. And if you're tracking your links, and you might find out that it was somebody who, you know, tweeted about you, or somebody mentioned you, reviewed you on a blog post, and you're not going to know that unless you're really keyed into that. So track your links.
Yeah, and I've had that experience where, like, I've opened up my dashboard, spike in sales. Where did that come from?
Exactly.
And somebody shared or it was mentioned or something. It didn't just happen. That kind of spike doesn't happen organically. Yep. So you're right. And it's something I don't do enough of, certainly. And I know that there are other authors out there doing the same thing. When they track those links, and how do they use that data to improve upon performance and improve upon their connection with the readers?
Well, a good example would be a back matter link. So the most important that's probably one of the most important links. You put that link in the back matter and you see a lot of action between books 1 and 2, you're doing good. You converted them, you're going to book 2. You see great activity on those links between 2 and 3. Excellent job. You see a big drop off between 3 and 4, there's something wrong with that book. So it can actually tell you that the content isn't resonating.
Just to clarify, this is the link. You put a link at the end of your story that says you like this story, go get book 2. Yep. And the link you put there, if you use an attribution link of some sort, then you'll know what read through is. You'll have a very solid.
You'll have a good idea of what your conversion rate is from book 1 to book 2. It's not going to be 1-to-1, of course, but go ahead.
Part of the problem with that now, though, is that all Kindle devices and apps now have that pop-up page at the end. Yep. And I don't know about most readers, but I know that when I'm going into the next book in this series, I'm always clicking that link. So it's taking me directly to the store and not using that link. But one other thing you can do, and Joe's class mentioned this at one point, was you can actually put like different reader magnet links in the back of each book. And you can even put different reader magnets. Like let's say you're writing romance and you write a different epilogue, a happy ever after epilogue for each thing, right?
Great.
And each book has its own one. Each book has its own short scene as a reader magnet, and that way you could track where readers are in the series by when they're clicking that link, because they're still going to go after that even though Amazon's got the pop-up thing.
Great point. That's true. I mean, and that's something that you can also, to avoid, just a quick note, to avoid that pop-up coming up before they get a chance to get to the link. That pop-up appears to happen when you go past the end of the book. If you put that link directly under the end, and there is no next page, if you put it right there and you don't go past the end page, you should be able to still get that link. If you put a tab it to another page, if you put I would not put asterisks or anything like that.
Oh, really?
You can still get people to click on that. But what you're talking about, the funnel and driving people to different content, right? What we were talking about earlier, getting a sense of that golden touch point. We're like, let's get them in, let's give them something, let's have them let's supersize, like supersize it. Like, you want one more thing, here's a short story. You want one more thing, and then you can track that, of course, in MailerLite, but that's probably MailChimp, but that's another more probably complex discussion.
Yeah.
But it's a great point. Yeah.
No, that's great. And you bring them in, you use these links to kind of follow, you're seeing good read through, you get them to subscribe to your newsletter, and you want to have that magic touch point. How soon, are you saying right away you should try to find a way to give them that magic touch point?
The sooner you do it, the less of a chance you have of them dropping off, right? So, like, if you're able to, in the welcome email when someone signs up to your mailing list, like, there's this idea of like, okay, like, we're going to give away as much freebies as possible, get in as much people as possible. But what if you didn't make that like the full thing that they understand in the opt-in? But once they're there, they can still get a bunch of stuff they weren't expecting. That's a very different shift, because you're now getting readers who are really interested in whatever that newsletter is, maybe getting updates about your news stories. Maybe you're going to be offering some, behind the scenes looks. Maybe you're going to be sharing your new book early there. But those readers will be much more targeted, much more probably the fans you want. But then you're going to give them that sort of magical experience. What's interesting actually is Amazon. They have like the biggest subscription program really for e-commerce in the world, which is not kind of limited. It's Amazon Prime, which they do with Amazon Prime, this like surprise type program where they're constantly looking to actually surprise customers. They've done a lot less of this now. They're at a different stage now. But in the beginning, it was like, how do you build loyalty? Like, what if we just ship with someone in their box? Like, we know because we have an algorithm that detects that they'll buy, on this day of the month, they're most likely to buy, let's say, paper towels. Well, maybe if they go and order this next book from us, we'll also just put paper towels in the order because we know they want it. So Amazon built systems in at scale to consistently surprise people almost at random, which is also how you can think about what you're doing as an author. How can you collect like quote unquote data on your readers to be able to give them a more personalized experience? And some of the best authors I've seen like really leaning into this are creating these sort of forms that go out. They could be Google form, right? Don't need to pay anything for that. Google form, go to your readers, and you're just collecting info about them, literally. And not like anything too much, like, hey, what's your favorite book of mine? Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about it? Make it like really fun. But then what you're really able to do is say, hey, I now understand more about my reader. I can create magic moments at any point, because Amazon might have this big machine learning algorithm, but what you have is heart and an understanding of a deeper relationship with your readers. But you have to kind of cultivate that. You don't need to do that by commenting on your readers or DMing them or like, building some like live streaming empire. What you really just need to do is open up the way for your readers to share more about themselves with not only you, but each other. It's even better if you could do that in a forum where you're making a post and readers are sharing back and forth and you're able to go, oh, okay, this is it, right? So that's where these things kind of all come in handy.
Question, Ben. So, I mean, the links you're talking about could be used anywhere. They could be used in your email newsletter. You could put them one at the top of the newsletter, one at the bottom, so you can see who's reading through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can kind of track those people that like your emails.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a thing. Google Analytics has it. But Author Helper Suite has something called link flows, which basically is you strategically put your links in places where it's obvious that if somebody's engaged, they're going to click it. And you can actually follow people's path from one to the next. And that's great if they're in your own ecosystem, including Facebook, because Facebook does allow a third-party links. Amazon doesn't. BookBub does. So you can use our reader links, which we call, that's the name of the link brand, is reader links, inside BookBub. But you can follow them from one step to the next and see, where they're dropping off. Are you getting an 80% conversion on sending them from that newsletter to that story to that book too? Where is that drop off? And that's very helpful to be able to follow their story, their
then you know where the
quest.
flaws are in your system.
Not only in the books, but in the system.
Yeah,
right. That's right.
Yeah, and that kind of data collection makes me want to cross my eyes and hide under the table.
That's one of the
that's the
things.
challenge.
Yeah, it is.
It's funny. My wife is the numbers person in our family, and if I told her, I told her about something like this, she'd want to get a spreadsheet out and immediately start what would the build look like for that spreadsheet just to see. Yeah. But I think this is where you lean into your strengths, right?
It is. You have to stay comfortable. You have to be comfortable with what you're doing. You have to be comfortable with the social media platform you're on. You have to be comfortable with the kind of promotions that you run that involve and what you have to be comfortable with it up to a point. You can stretch yourself, of course, but don't do something that you're going to be like, oh, I got to do this.
Yeah, begin as you intend to continue is good advice. Whatever you're setting up, plan to keep it in place for the long term. Like we were talking before about Prime. Everyone's really mad at Amazon right now because they're including ads in Prime videos.
Yeah.
They've taken back a promise that they made, essentially.
The worst.
But so whatever systems that we're putting in place, try to set up things that we're going to be able to continue with for the long run. But I'm not a big numbers person myself either. I mean, calculus was just like that was the end of it for me.
Algebra 2.
But yeah,
Let's hear that.
I wanted to be a physics major originally. Just didn't. That was the end of that, though. Anyway, though, the thing is that if you're looking at a graph, this is where tools come in. So if you're looking at a graph that shows the different percentages for different points in your chain, and it's steady all the way across, and then there's a drop off. That's visual. Yeah. You don't need to be good at math to figure that stuff out. Yeah. If you have a good tool which is graphically representing this stuff, and that's where stuff like your suite comes in. Yeah.
No, it does do that.
We're getting down towards the end, so I want to just kind of see what are strategies that you're using, Kevin, for instance, to connect with your fans. What is the one thing that you think is working great for your connection?
My email newsletters are probably my powerhouse. I have about an 18,000 person list.
Wow.
I don't usually drop people off, so part of that is relatively inactive, but a few of those come back in every time I send an email. So I keep them there because a few of them come in every time. I try to work on building that a lot. I work hard on building the connections with my readers through there. It's been my primary venue. I'm expanding that because I've learned some really good new things here.
The last couple days.
The last couple of days have been great for that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely going to expand that. That's much more top of funnel. And Monica Leonel and I were just talking the other day about how top of funnel and bottom of funnel don't have to be exclusive. You can do both simultaneously. Yes. I can still do the top of funnel. Let's go grab a couple hundred people a month from book funnel to joint promos, but I can also do the bottom of funnel. The unique touches, the sending a card to somebody, stuff that some of these guys are doing that's just amazing, and of course people love it.
But even responding to an email you get promptly
makes a huge difference.
Can make a huge difference for a reader who's never had an author respond back to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Ben, what about you? What's working for you?
I think reader teams, ARC teams, getting people, getting those core fans to come in and help you kind of massage the manuscript and get it in shape is a real amazing way to relate to get people to relate to you and to connect with them. So it's not for everyone.
Right.
And Author Helper Suite has a tool called Reader Teams. Sorry, had to drop that in.
That's all
which
right.
helps you manage your ARC teams. It's like the most professional / personal touch you can have with your readers.
Michael, you get to see the back end of some of this stuff. You get to see where readers are engaging and not engaging, and which authors are doing things that seem to be getting more engagement. What are you seeing working on like a platform like Ream?
So one thing that I think authors make a big mistake on is if, reframing all the talk around analytics, think about all of it like you're going into an ice cream shop or a restaurant or, just any local business. And you walk inside, right? And that owner maybe puts up like this huge like stack of like chairs right in front of the entrance. And like you want to get in, like it excited you. And you're just like confused and you don't know where to go. So some people just end up leaving, but the owner is just looking away from you, literally just staring at the wall. Like you would be like, what the heck and what is going on, right? That is a lot of how like some of us run our business. And like so we have to kind of think about like we're building literally like a store, like we're building like an actual shop. And if we're like thinking about it like that, when readers enter our shop, how are we making it really easy for them to go in? Like for instance, like a lot of people go to like a Costco for like getting the fried chicken or something like a Publix too in the South for those who are in the South. Okay, well, Publix, they put it purposefully at the back because they know you want it and they want you to go through the whole thing. But regardless, like you want to keep the things like the whole psychological journey you want to take your readers through has to be very intentional. And what I see oftentimes is authors are like they send their readers to like a tier page like on Ream and it's like, here are all my tiers. They don't even explain what's really happening. The readers get there, they're confused, they're just jammed with all these things and they just leave. Meanwhile, the best authors, some of them are first of all, like sending them directly to like a story link where they're getting into the story, able to see right there into the chapter. Then at the end of the chapter, there's an author's note that's telling them to upgrade, telling them what they're getting, and then they can do that in just a click. But you're, again, thinking about it from the perspective, if I'm a reader and I'm walking into a store, like an actual store, how can I make it really easy to go in and find the romance shelf, find the fantasy shelf, whatever you're looking for, versus I am now stuck in this maze that I'm never going to leave.
And you using the physical storefront as an example, I think is so key because we think our businesses are different from other businesses. And in some very key ways, they're no different from the small boutique clothing shop on Main Street in your town, right? What do you see where there's ways to reconnect in that storefront kind of way of the shop owner, the shopkeeper?
I mean, like think about what you like to have happen to you when you go into a store. If I go into a restaurant and the people are friendly and cheerful and upbeat and I get immediate service, that's all good. But if I guess I like the word delight when it comes to stuff like this. If a company goes and finds a way to go above and beyond and do something that delights me, that will tend to win my loyalty. That'll tend to win me over and coming back forever, basically. So what can we do that can delight our readers? What can we do that can just provide something way above and beyond what they're expecting? Like Chris Hopper's, letters that he sends out. Every new subscriber to his email list gets an actual
newsletter,
mailed letter with a stamp.
That's great.
An actual, postal service letter. Now, you don't have to do that. That's just one example. There's lots of other things we could do along those lines, but something that just gives people that little something extra. I throw free short stories at my email list all the time, and I'm sure that's why a lot of them don't stay around so long, is because I'm literally just giving them free bonus content about the characters they already love, because it's a short story that's a side quest in one of the other series.
Yeah, that's a great.
Make sure though when you give to your readers that you're doing it intelligently. Be an intelligent giver. And what is really important is if you're going to be going the extra mile, because people know when something's automated. Imagine walking into a restaurant or Walmart's a good example, and the robotic reader goes, "Welcome to Walmart." like you're like, I don't care. That's what a welcome email is. So if you're going to go the extra mile with people, just know that you want to make it the right people. So filter it so that it is harder to just enter it's not just entering your email in. They have to enter in more information to get that experience, because you want to make sure it's the right people who actually care. Because if you're spending 70% of your time doing these things for people who don't care, that's going to make it really tough. It's going to drain you. I'd rather spend all the time with people who really care. And like for Ream as a business, we do this like with authors where we love all of our authors, but like we will see authors, we'll get data on them engaging with the platform, and we'll reach out proactively, send them things. We know who's engaging, and we have a very low filter barrier to entry, but once you're in, it's a high barrier to entry to start setting pages up, start uploading stories. We see that and can respond to that. So how are you able to see things in the customer journey that then you're able to delight them at the right moments? Because if you're just delighting everyone, you're going to get so exhausted.
That's true.
You give away too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, we're at the end, but I want to make sure people know where they can find Author Helper Suite.
Yeah, you can go to authorhelpersuite.com or readerlinks.com. It'll take you to the same spot. And let me know if you have any questions, Ben at theauthorhelper.com, and I'd be happy to answer them. Yeah,
Awesome.
Free 30-day trial, no credit card required.
Very cool. Very cool. Michael, what about Ream? Where can folks find out more about what's going on with Ream and the platform for subscriptions and all the other amazing things you're rolling out?
Reamstories.com. Visit us there, and you can check out, if you want to see my face in a weird YouTube channel, Storytellers of the World. It's on YouTube. We create a lot of things to try and help authors, and grateful to be here.
Kevin, where can folks find you?
KevinMcLaughlin.com has been my website for forever.
Very cool. And I'm Jamie Davis from Author Nation. You can find more about Author Nation at authournation.live. And we hope to see you all in Las Vegas in November. We will be back with another episode of State of the Nation soon. So make sure you come back here and grab that episode, because we're going to be talking about some very cool stuff in the coming months.